All right, welcome back to another week of the Trading Triangle. I'm your host, Trader Nate. Looking forward to getting into it with my friends Sean and Kaye. Gonna get into some charts, looking at some trading this week. How you doing, Kaye? Feeling good?
Yeah, doing great, guys. How are you? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Feeling good, feeling good. Sean, yourself?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, looking forward to the week ahead, definitely.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be. We got FOMC this week. Not so much in the way of earnings, but we'll take a look at that stuff. And we got some interesting charts with markets, keeping us closely watching everything, basically, right? And it's stock pickers market, so we're getting some good trade ideas. I had a few last week that worked out really well. But yeah, we'll get into those details first. Quick disclaimer. Remember, this is not financial advice. We are just three traders having fun. We're not financial professionals. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We do appreciate everybody tuning. All right, so for a quick second there, and I think I'm back. So anyways, back to the disclaimer. We are live on X over on Wolf Financial, also live on @TraderNate here on X, and then if you want to catch everything plus a lot more throughout the week, the Trading Triangle over on YouTube. Be sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and I can get myself a new mic that doesn't cut out. It'll be great. All right, so let's get to the charts. What do you think, guys?
Let's do this.
All right. So we've got a lot to go through, like I mentioned. First up, like we always do, take a look at last week and some of the performance. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that stood out for me, guys, is the markets were down, but there are opportunities if you're looking in the right spots. I posted a trade for Google last week that worked out really well for those who got in it, up 5% already. But yeah, it wasn't great for everybody. Obviously, chips gave a lot back. NVIDIA's, kind of led the way there. You can see Meta, big red square there. What were your thoughts? Anything that jumped off the page for you, Kaye?
Yeah, Tesla. That was that was 10%, almost 10% down for the week, and I think that was where I was focused mostly. And then we also lost a lot of ground on a lot of SaaS software. So Datadog was down, Snow was down. So mostly all my open trades and Mara. Mara also got hit last week.
Yeah, Bitcoin making a lot of moves, right? Up, and it's probably way different than what we'll have on our charts here by the time we get to it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, those miners, Mara's sitting right on its anchored VWAP, so I think that's a very interesting spot. But it could break down further. And yeah, actually, if you guys have tickers out there that you'd like to see, quick reminder that at the end of this, we'll get to those tickers in addition to what we've got planned for today. Got some interesting names to look at, of course. So be sure to drop those comments below. We'd be happy to get to them. And yeah, we'll get around to a number of them. I see already stuff coming in. So appreciate it, Mac. We've got SOFI and Coin requested. We'll add those to the list. All right, keeping it going here. Fear and greed index, just chilling in the greed zone on the heavier end of it at 70. And like I mentioned, markets were actually down a bit last week. The Q's giving up the most actually, I guess small caps giving up the most. But Q's also down nearly 1%, down 0.84%. And then Bitcoin giving a little bit back. So kind of hard to find spots to trade for upside. Any comments on the fear and greed index, Sean?
I was just interested to see that the 1 year ago it was 22, so that was really low. Just wonder if that's kind of playing in terms of time of year type thing.
That is interesting.
Head. Yeah.
Yeah, like the opposite side of the coin there, right?
Yeah.
How about you, Kaye?
But nothing other than me. No.
So I think from my perspective, if I've been tracking the put to call ratio and it's been 0.71, 0.72 point. So it's still in the same range. It's not really, we haven't really seen anything big giveaway. From a SPY, only down 0.6. It's really not anything major. Like we generally go up 1%, 1.5% on a daily basis. For a week, you gave up minus 0.16, which is, I think it's a good pullback. And also the wicks is, we have been so used to the 13.1, 13.2 wicks that when it's 14.4 feels like, oh, it's a lot. But I guess remember those days when we were like 17, 18 in the wicks?
Yeah.
So
I remember thinking like, oh yeah, 1850. If it gets above that again, then we're gonna get some real volatility. But below 1850, like it'll be mellow. That seems like a long time ago, and that was just relative to that current time period, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting stuff here with the VIX dropping down there to below 1450 now. I do think that a lot of people are anticipating a spike, and I don't know if we're going to get it. So the VIX is an interesting one to trade. Keeping it going, though, looking at earnings, I don't know that we have a ton this week to get too excited about. I mean, there's definitely names that are interesting, but I mean, I've got my eyes on Micron on Wednesday because, anything semiconductors I'm going to be interested in. But what are you looking at this week, Sean? Anything jumping off the page?
Probably Xpeng at a kind of distance, maybe Nike as well, just to see. Well, Nike and Lululemon had the kind of very concentrated customer base, don't they? So it'd be interesting to see if they're still sticking around for those brands. But yeah, that's it really. Nothing really jumping off the page.
We got a Nike chart this week, right, Kaye?
Yeah, we have Nike. Yep.
Nice. What else are you looking at? Anything else besides Nike? And I'm guessing you got Lulu on the brain as well.
Yes, I do, and just FedEx.
Oh, when's FedEx? I missed that.
Thursday, after Lululemon.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
in the huge bold print. I don't know how I missed that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So Thursday looks like the day we focused on, honestly. But yeah, XPEV, XPEV is the ticker before the open on Tuesday. Makes sense if you're looking at that, Sean. So yeah, earnings lightening up and nothing on Friday. So that's good to see. All right. Let's get to the charts. First up, SPY. I keep pointing out this gap below. I don't know if we're ever going to fill it. I just like to highlight it. It's potentially there, right? And if we did fill it, it'd only be a little over 2% lower, or a little bit less than 3% lower, I should say. But we're just testing this 20-day moving average, testing the trend line. Everything here looks fine to me, except for that volume on this selling. Like, that's quite a bit of volume. Sean, what do you make of that?
That's actually the first time I've seen that. I didn't see that when I was analysing it myself over the weekend. So that's interesting to see. Yeah, that's quite worrying, I think, isn't it? But yeah.
No. Sorry, if you forgot, we actually had the quad witching day.
Oh,
so
yes.
That drives a lot of it. Good call, Kaye. Good call. Do you think that is enough to drive that much volume?
Yes, because the put to call ratio on expiration 315 on SPY was 5.59. You had 783,000, almost 784,000 call options expiring, and 4,380,000 put options expiring.
See, there you go.
4380747. That was the put. So it's like you can imagine the number of contracts expiring. I think that's the reason you had this massive volume.
If you watch the intraday action, there was some crazy whipping around on Thursday and Friday too, for sure, especially Friday. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. In the futures market, I saw a lot of movement, and yeah, we had these options, like you said, quad witching. So there you go, Sean. That makes a lot of sense to me, and I don't know why I didn't think about that. Right? What else did you see on the chart, Sean? Anything else?
So I think the catalyst potentially is FOMC on Wednesday. If we get a couple of flat days, kind of hold this trend line, FOMC comes down a little bit and stays below it. Thursday is kind of level, and then we've got a confirmation of break at that point, haven't we? So, but in other words, obviously we can go upwards. So this could be a good time to add if you're still bullish on the data, still bullish on the market and where it's heading. But I'm a bit bearish at the moment, to be honest with you. You may have seen my tweet the other day. It came out on Friday. It was a little bit bearish. There's a few indicators kind of coming down. One of them is actually Apple with the death cross, which is where the 50 crosses through the 200, signaling a downtrend. And obviously, they've got quite a big percentage of the SPY. So yeah, it's interesting to watch out. I would be careful if you're going long, personally, in my opinion, of course. But yeah, that's what I see. Caution.
Yeah, caution does make a little bit of sense here, I think. At the same time, I do like that we're holding the trend line last week, a little bit of a lower wick off of that trend line in the 20-day. And the 50-day would be a nice thing to touch and fill the gap, and it wouldn't be too terrible, right? It's not a 10% correction. Kaye, anything to add? I mean, really great points on the options expirations last week and driving that volume. Anything else to add here on SPY?
Nothing. I think the 500 is a key psychological level. Until that breaks, I really don't think the trend has changed.
Gotcha. I'm with you. All right, guys, let's keep it rolling. Hopefully the trend continues to be our friend. I have switched this chart from the Qs to SMH the last couple of weeks. I mean, just holler at me if you want to see the Qs again. I'll get back to you.
It's you, isn't it? It's you. You love semiconductors. So.
It's me. This is definitely the Nate influence, you could call it. And the pullback here has been real, and we're right at the 20-day moving average. So I like that it's had a green day or white candle here. You can see on this chart right off of that moving average, at least to close the week. But yeah, it's been a rough go. Do you think you guys have any inclination? Does it feel like we're going to keep dropping here and fill that gap? It's kind of hard to tell, right?
I would.
It is. Yeah, it is hard to tell, but I mean, the news is doing its best to bring people down at the moment. I think, again, with lots of bearish indicators and things. I think it's just kind of a bit. Are we turning over? Are we going to go lower? There's lots of that kind of talk around, but at the end of the day, if the charts say that if we're still on trend, then we're still on trend. So that's kind of taken out of the pinch of salt at the moment and just trading the charts. What I see, what I am doing is kind of trading shorter. So normally, I would hold positions like 2, 5, 10 days. I would probably be a bit more cautious, hold tighter stop losses, just because it is a bit whippy at the moment. But that's just kind of a little bit of extra kind of input from me there.
Completely agree with that. I wrote about that in my newsletter this morning, that I'm taking profits a little bit faster. So I'm with you there for sure. Kaye, were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I was saying that it's still an uptrend, right? And if you see this wick, the last wick, which is, and this yellow line is a which moving average?
The 20-day.
20 days. So, we have seen couple bounces from those trend lines, except once that we saw a little dip, but it closed at the moving average. So if we see a bounce, it just feels like it just goes back, pulls back a little bit, bounces off the 20-day, and then, makes a new high. And a lot will depend on NVIDIA's performance as we move forward. I mean, considering 10% was down on AMD and 5-6% down on NVIDIA for the week, I think that was, you could see the impact on SMH.
Yeah, NVIDIA, I mean, it's going to drive everything really in the sector, but I do think there's some names that could be presenting some interesting opportunities moving forward. So if we can get a bounce in the sector, there's definitely opportunities there, I think. But the selling off has me a little bit cautious on adding anything right now in semis, and there's other opportunities. So Micron's interesting this week, right? I don't know if it'll be as big of a mover as like NVIDIA or
I think from a investor standpoint or investor standpoint, not trader standpoint, I think if you're investing in semiconductors, I think just because if you missed NVIDIA run and you just start buying other stocks, because I think that's what exactly is happening is folks feel like fear of missing out, like you missed on NVIDIA's run, maybe missed on SMCI run, missed on AMD run. So you're just going to go start adding anything and everything in semiconductor. That is, I think, from an investing standpoint, might not be a prudent strategy. I think you need to understand AI, it has to be a big revenue source for that company. So how is the company actually related to AI? It's not just semiconductor chip that you're producing, right? That chip has to be used in AI. So this is how I think you got to look at it if you're investing. From a trading standpoint, I think is a different, because you're swinging for a shorter time frame.
Yeah, for sure. It's the difference between a trader's market and an investor's market. I think you're really highlighting some good points there, Kaye. Well, we'll see what happens with semiconductors. Energy is a space I'm definitely interested in. So I don't think that any of us really touched on energy this week particularly. But I've been trading Shell and posting ideas there. And energy I think is waking up. So the sector to keep an eye on. All right, let's keep it going. We're going to hand it over to Sean, and we've got Enphase energy up. So a little bit into the energy space.
A little bit, yeah. Clean energy, yeah. I've brought up the Enphase chart. I did it a couple of months ago, I think. You can see we've got an overall trend is kind of going upwards. But I anticipate maybe potentially a break, especially with the FOMC, if they're kind of highlighting future kind of interest rate cuts or not, should we say, then that's not going to be good for companies like Enphase, because obviously people rely on borrowing money to get solar panels, etc. List goes on. But basically, when we break that line, well, I say when we break, if we break that line, we're heading down to kind of 96 is my first port of call. But as you can see, that this chart does move pretty quickly, pretty viciously, and it could easily break that down and fill the gap back down. Kind of, I probably should have marked that $80-ish, where there's a lot of volume there. And on the other side of things, if Jerome Powell comes out nice and dovish and says, yeah, there's going to be 3 rate cuts, that kind of stuff, then I would anticipate a break of this trend line upwards, and pretty quickly, I would say, because it's good news, like I said before, with these kind of companies. So very simple kind of chart to see this week, and what are your guys' thoughts of this kind of basic wedge, should we say?
Yeah, I like trading a wedge. So anytime I can highlight that pattern like you've done here on the chart, I completely have found success. And when you see the highs kind of staying in, fairly flat, right? Not really, declining too much while the lows are tightening up. Like that to me is a bullish, right? You're looking for that breakout to the upside of this triangle here. So
Yeah.
I really like that trading pattern. And this right here, we haven't gotten the formation, right? We don't have quite the bounce off of that lower bit yet. So that's what I'd be waiting for. But once we got that bounce, I'd feel good about trading for upside. And the way I'd probably approach it, just for what it's worth, is wait for that bounce off the lower trend line, and then take a long position. And then once we get back to the top of that trend line, take profits, but leave a few runners for that breakout, right? And just rinse and repeat until it breaks one way or another. Kaye, do you agree with that kind of approach?
100%, because most of your volume shelf is right there at the middle of the wedge.
Nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting chart.
Agreed.
Do you like a bit of in-phase? Yeah, let's keep it going.
All right.
So this one's a bit of a new layout as well, but it's a new stock in general. It's an ETF for the cannabis sector, MSOS, and on top we've got on top of the chart we've got the 1 week, and down the bottom we've got the 1 day. Now let's start with the 1 week, shall we? So we can see it's kind of been trading kind of at lows, shall we say, over the last kind of year, maybe 16 months or so. It was just looking like we might be getting a bit of momentum, like you said before. The higher lows kind of been made over kind of November to where we are now. And the price action on Friday really caught my attention. And obviously, there was a bit of news that came out in terms of regulation, which is always good for these kind of stocks, this kind of sector. But you can just see that. It's a shame I didn't put the volume on the bottom one here, but you can just see that candle poking out of this potential trend line, and that's a very nice candle. So a little bit of a gap up and a push through these 2 moving averages and the trend line, and potentially this volume profile. This to me is a buy setup, just from my playbook at least. And then you're looking at kind of 990, 1050, which for this stock is actually pretty good, probably around about 8 to 10%, and obviously 1050 being kind of more towards kind of 16, 20%. So the money is there to be made. And with the stop loss, obviously you want to keep it fairly tight, especially in this market, like I mentioned before in the opening kind of remarks. So that's kind of the trade idea, I suppose, for MSOS. I do like this chart very much so.
I've been hearing more about the space this year for sure. Like it seems you could tell by the width of the candles that there's been more activity, right? It was tight there for a while, and now MSOS I think is getting some momentum because of the speculation around regulation. And so if that comes through, that would potentially be a really nice breakout trade because things really get cooking. I think it's a good space to be paying attention to for that kind of momentum to pick up. Yeah. I'm wondering with this election year and everything, how much rhetoric we'll hear around it and how much action will be taken. It'll be interesting to see. And MSOS is definitely the ticker in my mind to be trading.
And we know that this sector can move as well once it moves. We had it a couple of years ago, didn't we? I don't have it on the chart actually on here, but in 2020 was a good year for these types of stocks.
Yeah, good call. Okay, you trade these? You trade MSOS?
No, man. I stay away from cannabis. Can't trade everything.
Gotcha. I didn't know if you would sell calls against any of these positions or not. They did get, like what Sean was saying, pretty volatile, so you could get some juice.
They are. I mean, their IVs are over 100%. And
right.
For next week and couple weeks forward, their put to call is 0.38, 0.29, 0.67, 0.47. So definitely very bullish. And all the IV, the implied volatility is over 100% for most of the times. So you get good premium, but also the bid and ask spread is pretty wide, like almost 6 cents wide.
So more trading the commons than
yeah. I mean, I generally don't like trading that wide of a bid ask spread, personally.
Gotcha. Well, Sean, I like the setup here for what it's worth, man. So I'll be keeping an eye on this sector, see what happens.
Awesome.
It's nice to bring new stuff into the mix here. I like it.
It is definitely a new sector as well.
Yeah, all right. Where do we find you this week, Sean?
Yeah, so obviously on X, I post daily kind of trading insights. Of course, I do actually have a space related to Neo. I'm going live on tonight, pretty much straight after this, really.
Nice.
YouTube, I've been pretty quiet of late. I must be honest, but I'm still going live. I'm still producing the content. I'm still enjoying it. So that's the main thing, and that's it, really. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, follow Sean at Sean Clark _ on Twitter. On X, excuse me. I will never get over that. But yeah, good stuff out there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing you on Spaces. I'll have to tune in after this for sure. Check that out.
I've started saying X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah. I wonder how long that goes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you see it in all the publications. Like, does that go for 5 years? How long does that run? Anyways. Well, good stuff as always, Sean. Appreciate you bringing it this week. And see you in the comments out there, by the way, you guys. Thanks again for dropping the suggestions. I see Mello, Juan, Jay, Rose, all of your suggestions out there. So keep dropping them. And we will get to these tickers. We got a number. I've been writing them down, guys. We've got a nice list going here. So we'll keep it going. And I've got Square up first. This setup looks like it was drawn in a textbook for a cup and handle. I don't know. You guys see the cup and handle? I mean, to me, it seems pretty clear, right? Like textbook. So now we've got a breakout and a really nice retest to the top of that line. I think we could dip a little lower, so that's why I've got this box drawn here. It's not like $80 is the level. It might go down to 78 or so. I wouldn't be surprised, but I kind of like it here. I like Square here. I would be buying in these levels anywhere around 80 and looking for a break to the upside. I'm guessing there's pretty decent volume in the options. I honestly didn't get a chance to look, or if I did, I don't remember looking because I looked at a lot of stuff this weekend because
Good
of
volume. Yeah, good volume.
Yeah, good volume. Doesn't surprise me. And look, RSI is in a good spot. I mean, I really like this. There is potential though, like there's a gap right below, so you got to pay attention to that. And there's a big drop until you hit that volume shelf, so to fill that gap. So I mean, we could see it fall all the way back to 68.50 around that level, 68.44 to the penny. But you got a 50-day moving average there to help support. You would fill the gap. Usually, you get a bounce after that. So if it holds at 78.80, I like it to go long, but you might want to as far as I say if I'm considering this, I would be looking at it to go smaller there just until it confirms taking off, because it could, get that pullback all the way down to that 68.50 level. And at that point, if it held up, I would definitely like the setup for going long there as well. So anyways, enough from me. Sean, what do you think about this one? Anything to add?
Yeah, so actually, I've got a starter position that I started basically in the last week. So I've been banging the Square drum this week, same as you.
Nice.
So it's but like you said before, just before I started talking as well, that whole kind of starting position now, and obviously adding to it if it does to pull back a little bit more. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment. I like the chart. You explained everything that I'm thinking, which is always a good sign. But yeah, I would like to see a few more days, maybe trading around here, especially around this kind of news event on Wednesday. So I've got something's going off here. I'm not too sure what it is.
Oh, it's yours. Okay, good.
But yeah, the 20 moving average, basically, I want that to kind of come up just to prove a little bit more support. But no, I mean, still, even from this point here, I do quite like it. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this chart.
Good stuff. I don't usually see a cup and handle. Like I literally opened up the chart to Square. I was like, let's see what's going on Square, and I just kind of sat back. I mean, what do you think, Kaye? You feeling bullish about Square?
Yeah, I mean, Square is one of my staple stocks that I trade pretty much
Nice.
Weekly, bi-weekly basis, right? So I think, interestingly, Sean was on a space yesterday with Architect, and I joined as a listener. And I did ask a question. I really think that if we see a pullback on the fib level, 76.80 is your 50% retracement level. So if we get a bounce from there, if there's a pullback and we get a bounce from there, then I would definitely open a position. You could play a spread over there. But if that breaks, then you're absolutely right, Nate. We can see a big drop going all the way down to 68.51. That's where bulk of the trading happened. And sometimes they say, right, gap got filled, right? Many times actually the gap fill happens at some point in time.
Right. 80% or something. Some number I've heard out there.
Yeah, some stat.
Yeah.
There's a gap down at 40 as well, so let's see if that feels.
Well, hopefully not tomorrow or not next week, right?
Yeah.
Sean,
That
Oh
that'd
my
be
God.
how much covered calls will expire worthless.
Sean really has gone bearish on his K. He's looking.
Oh,
He's holding the cap down there like that.
He, he, he has gone rogue. Sean goes rogue.
don't banish me. Please don't banish me.
No, it's good. I love all the different perspectives, and you do have to pay attention to these gaps. It's a good call.
No, because Sean does catch these things much, minutely than us. So,
Attention to
you gotta-
detail, I think.
yeah, exactly. So
It is
every time
good.
Sean says, "Oh, ExxonMobil is going down," I'm like, dude,
Pay
seriously.
attention, right? Hey, we got some more tickers coming in too. I see Hims and Mara. We'll definitely get to those, you guys. That's
Our
good stuff.
favorite Mara. Yes, we'll cover Mara as well.
Nice, yeah. So appreciate you guys taking a look at Square with me. I thought you would like it. I know, by the way, this week the two tickers I decided to do charts for basically are your guys' tickers that I
That's okay, man. I mean, we
I
all
got way more interested in.
right. There's no monopoly on the ticker.
So this is what happens. I've gotten way more interested in these names after working with you guys and looking at these charts, and so they like move their way up my watch list, right? So here we are with Square, and then this week I couldn't help but jump to Palantir. I mean, so that's our next chart here because of the headlines, right? CEO coming out bashing short switch. I mean, not always a great sign, right? Usually you just kind of let, if you're a successful company, you're like, cool, shorts are going to do the thing. We're going to, make them lose money and we're going to power higher. It's when you hear a CEO come out and like being upset about shorts, sometimes there's some concern there, and that's why they're getting emotional. But that being said, I mean, I still like Palantir, and the trading setup is super interesting, like a lot to unpack here.
So before we go to trading, I just have a comment, right? Maybe
Yeah.
he's taking a leaf out of Elon Musk's page, right?
That is very true. That is
But not everybody is Elon Musk. We have to also be sure, right? There is a group of people who are Palantir enthusiasts. They know the name of the guy.
Right. That's
But
very
Elon Musk is a different, character.
Yeah, that's the size and impact is definitely different, but the similarities are there. I agree with what you're saying, right? They're just anti and they're vocal, and then they have the support in the in the crowd, I guess you could say, that's going to be like foot stomp, right, and say, yeah, you're right. So there's a lot. It's interesting, right? And so I'll be watching closely, and the chart here is super interesting as well. So there's like so many different trades set up here. I'm curious for you guys of that. I'll try to be quick. But a quick comment: we're over halfway to our 3,000 live tune in listening goal for this. That's our next threshold. Last week we got to like 25. I think it was 2,500. We're at 1,600 live right now. So you guys appreciate the support out there. Trying to get 3,000. That's our next goal. So see if we can get there this week, you guys. See if Palantir helps us launch. So anyways, back to the chart. This is a range I've highlighted, right? So we have a potential, if you're already in shares, selling cover calls at the 25, 26 level, to me makes a lot of sense. A lot of volatility, juice premiums. Okay, you're nodding, so that means you agree, and I like that. Now, there's the fact that it is volatile, so you may miss out on upsides. You could actually even push those strike price levels higher and get a little less premium, but enjoy a little bit more upside if it does run, right? And then on the flip side, if you want to sell cash secured puts, it does look like 22. So 22 even, call it, is showing up as support. I would want to see it actually hold up there one more time. We've only really got the one touch point. But if we do get a bounce there, it might be a good spot to sell cash secured puts. If you are looking to own Palantir and want to collect some premium ahead of doing that, the only risk there is there's two risks, right? One is if it drops massively and fills the gap and you're buying at the 22 level. If you're long term, then you just have to ride that out. You could turn around and sell covered calls, do a number of things, but that is a risk, right? A very clear risk. And then the other is if it takes off and you're just not in the position and you collect your cash, but you don't own the shares. So cover calls, cash secured puts, those are definitely on the table, I think, here. But again, you can also just trade for upside. If it breaks above this 25.42 level and retests, that would be a breakout trade I'd be looking at, but with some kind of caution there because it has tried that once before. And then same to the downside. If we break below 22, retest, and then reject, that could be a good downside trade. So it's set up just to kind of watch. What do you think, Kaye?
Nate, what I was thinking on this one is you can have all those strategies, and I think if there is a gap fill, and that's when maybe you can do a leap call because leap calls will become cheaper. at that point in time, right? So if you
Yeah.
do get a gap fill, you can
That's a
actually
good
buy
call.
those leap calls.
Yeah, then you can take that longer options position much cheaper. Yeah, and take that bullish position. I like that at those lower levels. That's really smart. Leveraging those leaps. I don't think enough people talk about that. It's good stuff, Kay. What do you think,
But
Sean?
Sean is
a little
the
bit,
goat in this one. Tell us.
a little bit from me on the mentality side, and you kind of already see it on the chart now. Obviously, it's quite a heavily retail followed stock. Obviously, lots of retail investors. And we can see there's been lots of selling basically in the last 2 weeks or so. And I'm just wondering if it might be spooking them out a little bit. So obviously the stock's gone up, probably over about 200% or so over the last kind of 24 months or so. Are we just seeing people taking profit, people panicking a little bit? They're up 150%. Are they happy with that? Just kind of naturally dropping the stock down. Obviously, retail investors don't move the stock massively, but if you get a whole kind of, it's like the opposite to FOMO. What's the opposite to FOMO? I'm not really sure. Basically, lots of selling, panic selling. Basically, I guess is what I'm getting at. But you can see just from a technical analysis point of view, just switching over a bit there. If you drew a line from the bottom of the wick, the large white wick at the kind of 5th of February, and drew it up to kind of the Thursday wick. Oh, you can draw the line. Fantastic. Can you draw the line? Oh, you can't. No. That's the next.
Let me see. I'll try. Keep going.
Okay. So yeah, if you draw it from the bottom point there, and where the Thursday candle is just gone this week, so basically that is the trend line. It just looks like a mixed break. Sorry, the candle before that.
Oh, bummer. Okay. I see it.
You see it now, yeah. But basically, we've broken that accelerated trend, and whether we get a retest or not, I'm not too sure. It's an aggressive candle on Friday. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I see 21, in sight for sure.
So you're saying we
another bearish? Oh, I've done it again. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, the bearish net. Okay, so okay, but the opposite of FOMO is JOMO. Joy of missing out.
Joy of missing out. Yeah, fantastic.
I have not heard JOMO.
Yeah, and I'm doing some comedy relief here, right?
I love it. Yeah. Well,
basically, the trend is broken. So
that is a good call, Sean. And I'm sorry I had to draw and mess up your analysis there as you were talking. But I will get better at drawing on these charts live. That being said, I think you're right. That's worth pointing out because if you look at that trend line, it's the same trend on the upper half of it. It's like a channel, right? It's trading and basically. So yeah, worth noting. That is worth noting. A little bit of a gap and drop there. All right. Well, that's me for this week. Square and Palantir.
The leap calls in mind, right? When you have those big drops, your leap calls on Palantir will become cheaper.
Yeah, that is a good call, Kay. Definitely good pointing that out. All right. Let's see. You can find me at Trader Nate here on X, live streaming on Sundays as we do. So thanks again for everybody tuning in. Make sure you repost that and get the word out so we can get more people enjoying what we do on Sundays. And then, of course, at Wolf Financial, I write for the newsletter there and my own newsletter at A Trader's Education over on Substack. Link is in my bio. I've got trade ideas this week as well as from last week that are working pretty well. I had Google and Shell last week, DraftKings this week. Also have, what else did I add this week? That's enough. All right, let's hand it over to Kay. What do we got this week, Kay, in your tickers? Are we starting off with something unusual?
Starting with, I believe, Nike. Yeah, so
Nike. Yeah, we haven't talked Nike in a while.
Yeah. So this is also one of the stocks that is barcoding from like I don't know how many months now, more than 6 months. So I actually have written here, right? Stock has been in this range since October of 2023. So it's just it goes down to $88, goes back up to 122, gets rejected, and then starts barcoding from since then. Interestingly, there is a lot of IV. Especially with the earnings coming up about 74% IV. It's pretty unusual for Nike. They actually had a pretty poor quarter last quarter earnings was pretty bad. They only had a very minor 1% increment in the revenue, and most of it came from China. So they haven't really seen the growth itself. So if you can see the volume shelf in the 90 to 103, 104 is where majority of the volume shelf sits. And what basically I'm looking at from a trade standpoint is it has about an 8% move. So you're looking at what, $7-8 upside, up or down. And considering that the macro conditions have really not improved for the for the investors, not for investors, for consumers. So and the Chinese economy is also feeling the heat, right? So I'm not sure if they will be able to see the same growth in the last quarter, but considering this is going to be reporting earnings for the fourth quarter of 2023, we may see a little bit of a bump. But then again, how do they see the 2024 shaping up? So one of the trade ideas that I did right over here, not necessarily depends on how you want to take it, is the CSP idea, a 98 expiration 328. So that gives you about 2 weeks. And the premium that you're going to get is $310. So that means that from $98, you'll drop your effective cost basis to $95. The delta is 40. And the open interest, interestingly, is 2.5K, which means that you have 2,500 open interest. If you go $1 above, you have 4,000 open interest. It's at the money almost. So that is a trade idea. But what I'm seeing is here that if earnings is a binary play, right? So if as long as they report better than last quarter, which I think they will, because fourth quarter is generally a shopping spree, we may see that bump. So you may be able to trade this, or you can take another idea of a call credit spread. That's something that if you want to say, hey, this is where we see the calls going up to, you may start losing if they actually do a gap up like they do often with their earnings. Unless there's a major gap up and they break through that layer of 109, I can do a call spread here as well.
Do you think there's a bit of a risk with like the guidance kind of missing regarding to China?
Most
Obviously, with
likely, yeah.
Tesla and Apple obviously not
Most
doing so good
likely,
in
yeah.
China,
Yeah, most
so
likely.
that could also hinder the stocks. It's hindered obviously
100%.
Tesla and
Yeah,
Apple massively. So
I think from a trade, because I am also a long-term investor in Nike, so I don't really mind accumulating stocks. So it really depends if you're not an investor in Nike, then it's a little risky play for the premium itself. I am a long-term investor, so I'm okay collecting at 95, 93 more stocks. The more the better. And then what I do generally is I collect them and then I sell a leap covered call to collect more premiums.
Yeah, I've been hearing, a lot of talk about competition for Nike and all of that. And to me, seeing the stock beat down a little bit looks like an opportunity because, it's not like Nike's just going to roll over, right?
It's the
Yeah.
brand. It's not about, you say competition. The only competition that you have in the Americas is Lululemon, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
tickers yeah, ONON, right? On Company.
yeah.
That's one that people are really talking about. But again, like Nike's not just going to sit back and let some company just run up and steal tons of market share, right? They're gonna take action and so yeah, I think that these are interesting opportunities on these pullbacks for a name like this.
And also it pays dividends. So generally you would see
Oh,
those
nice. Yeah,
gap
right.
ups or gap downs during dividends, right? There's a lot of activity. So you can play these kind of stocks in many ways. And if it gets a pullback, and if you're starting a position, I would say wait for the pullback to happen to 88, 89 to start a position. And then you can have it run up from 88 all the way to 102, 103. So that could be a good trade idea.
All right, I like it. Should we keep it rolling? What do we got
Yeah.
next? Oh, Intel.
Yes, this was from a request from one of our watchers last
That's
week. We
right.
couldn't get to it, so I was like, let me just bring it here. This is more like a discussion point for you guys as well. I honestly think $42 is a very critical support for Intel, as I'm seeing. So I drew this nice little red line. We saw little bounces a couple times over there. Um, and we can play in this range itself between 42 and 43.80. That's where the biggest volume shelf is actually in this fib. Otherwise, if that breaks, we can go back down to, you know, 32, 39, 28. That would be the next level, I guess. But yeah, I would play this range if I need to. But I'm still a little bit cautious with Intel. Well, how do you guys see it?
Yeah, from the chart perspective, it is an interesting spot. Like if you're looking to add, this is the spot to be adding, right? Or at the low end of the range. And that's the 50-day moving. Oh no, 200. That's the 200
Yeah, so
moving
so
average.
purple is 200, red is 50, and yellow
Yeah.
is 20.
Yeah, so like the 200 moving average, Sean, we were talking about that earlier today, actually, about being a spot to watch closely for, if we get a bounce, a buying opportunity in any name, really. So the fact that we're close there, it makes some sense for a long-term positioning to add to Intel, I think. I like the fact that they've got a ton of, what do you call it, infrastructure spend funding and whatnot coming their way, but didn't they just also was it Intel era that like basically was like, yeah, we pass up a bunch of billions of dollars because they weren't moving fast enough in one of the states. I can't remember what it was, but I'll have to look into that. But yeah, overall, like I think the runway's there for Intel. They just have to take advantage of those opportunities and buying on the low, these dips. Like I'm big on buying the dips. So I think that's what we're getting opportunities right here.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a clear wedge. It's one I've actually drawn on my chart, which is nice. But if you drew a line from the kind of December all the way up to kind of where we are now, really, that line is obviously the bottom part of the wedge. And then from the highs back in 51.13, across the tops, you see a nice kind of wedge that we're kind of trading within. We're at the lower end of the range at the moment, so I'd be looking for it to hold now. I mean, you said similar with another stock earlier, Nate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like this to hold. But obviously, if not, if it does break, then of course I will play the downside for sure. Because the downside I've got is probably down to 40, which is probably about where you've got here with the 200 moving average. So
Yeah, 38.
I like it both ways really, but ideally more for the short side. Of course, seems to be a bit of a trend for me this week. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta read the charts and go with what you see, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this
the
chart gives
projections.
you a lot of confidence, honestly, that you're gonna see some kind of a breakout. So you gotta be careful, especially when charts are showing hesitation, I would say.
Yeah, and you can see clearly through this chart lots of rejections off the 50 moving average, especially in the last month, really, month and a half maybe. Just that red line, just it's not getting through it. It's
Exactly.
coming down as a consequence. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Man, it was on a rip though, right, Kaye? Like I feel like all last year we were talking about Intel. Like, every time you pull up the chart, I was like, "Whoa!"
Intel was generating a lot of income, but we ran up also from the mid 20s all the way running to mid 40s. Till then, I kept it, and then I just stopped after that.
Yeah, so maintaining here above the 50% line on that fib, like that's positive in general. So accumulating here is not the worst idea, if you ask me. But definitely, it would have been nicer to stay on that uptrend, of course.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Kaye. Where can we find you this week?
Yes, so I will be posting a lot of content on X as well, so you can definitely track me there. And then on YouTube this week, I guess I'll be doing a lot of analysis on the ETF, tech sector ETF. I've got a lot of requests from folks on tech sector ETF, so we'll do a couple comparison. I actually have few videos, but I'll do a 2024 refresh. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in catching that.
I like it. All right, guys, should we jump into some requests here and get right to it?
Let's do this.
All right, let me go ahead and get that squared away.
So should we start from the bottom, from the first request?
Yeah, I think we start with SOFI and Coin, right? Should we go there first?
Yep.
Or I guess that'd be from the top. Did I get that backwards?
Let's start from that one SOFI since we have that.
All right, I might have been trading SOFI a little bit. I got a couple marks.
There's a few lines drawn, yeah.
Let me clean this up a little bit. So, all right. So, yeah, while I'm doing this, do you guys have any in particular thoughts on SOFI at the moment?
Yeah, honestly, $7 was a psychological level and still is. 703 is where they close, right? We see decent volume shelf there. If that breaks, then you're looking at 641 on my chart at least.
Got it. That would be the last low here that we got to in November.
Exactly.
Yeah, how about you, Sean?
For me, it's a bit more of a fundamental look. So from a long-term point of view, I think the company's doing really, really well. Everything seems to be going in the upwards direction, which is nice. I actually looked at it the other day just to check up on, see what was going on. So, I mean, for me, obviously, the $7 level, again, like you say, is a key. Yeah, I don't know really what to add apart from the company's doing well. I like it, and I'm adding to it. I'm basically DCAing into my position for SOFI, but for the long term, I don't really trade it. As you can see, it's kind of very temperamental. It doesn't really set a clear path. But if you can catch an intraday trade, is what I tried to say there, then great. But yeah, I don't really tend to trade this.
So one of the trade ideas that I posted actually couple weeks ago, and right after you can go and watch on my YouTube channel, was a $7 CSP couple weeks out, and you can keep playing that as long as you want, and you'll get decent premium. So for SoFi at $7 for next week, you'll get about 20 cents per share, right? It's about $20 per contract. If you go a couple weeks out, if you go 4 weeks out, you are getting 40 cents. So $40 for 100 shares, one contract.
Yeah, that's juicy.
That's juicy. Exactly.
Well, I'm thoroughly frustrated with SoFi, to be honest. And so yeah, I hope it finds support here. But I've stopped trading it for the moment. There are a ton of great traders trading SoFi though, and then the long term thesis. Like I understand the long term thesis. So if you're looking to add here at these levels, it makes a ton of sense, right? I mean, here we are at these lows, and if you're bullish long term, this is the spot. So you got to be adding when others are fearful for sure. All right, let's keep going. Go to one I can't stand, coin.
Yeah,
But
the one you hate the most.
I appreciate you bringing it up. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that you can't make it.
Nate, imagine if you would have bought at 69.
Yes, I should have. It would have been nice. It's been a great trade getting in coins. So first of all, congrats to anybody who did. This is what I had noticed before. This move right here, this is a cup and handle. And then it just took off, and now it's moving up. Get a little bit of a pullback. Maybe test this 20-day. And depending on how, I think crypto has been all over the place this weekend. But it's been a hot spot as of late. So coins kind of following suit. I don't know. Do you guys have, Sean, what do you think about Coinbase in this chart?
Again, once a stock has kind of taken off, I kind of switch away from it. It's just a habit. I think it's just how I trade. Just gets a bit erratic for me, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's just madness in the last couple of weeks. Really, it's straight up, really far down. But you've got kind of almost a bullish engulfing. But like you say, with the Bitcoin activity over the weekend, it hasn't looked so great. So you probably expect that to open lower. And probably retest that kind of 189, which with the volatility that this stock provides, I would expect it to actually test a 187, that level before even past the 212. I hope that all of that made sense. But basically,
it does.
187.
Yeah, 187.
I tend to say words, but in a different order.
And we're below this 5-day moving average, which you guys know I've been paying attention to. What do you think, Kaye? Anything to add on coin?
No, I am not going to chase this one. It's beyond my safety levels, I would say.
If you're in it, there's no reason to get bearish.
If you already have a position, you're in a trade, then it's perfect for you, right? But I would not chase this stock at this level.
I think 187 is the level I'd watch. If it breaks, then I would be a little bit nervous. But otherwise, if it tests that, that's fine. I think that's totally healthy. ULTA. So let's see, why did we get ULTA brought to our attention here?
Wow, that's a pretty massive drop.
That is an interesting. So this is off of earnings, right? So we had earnings post-market to close out the week, and on Thursday, and then we had Friday bounce. Look, so what this is here is the anchored volume weighted average price, AVWAP, off of the last earnings, and it came right down, touched it, and then bought right back up. So that to me is pretty bullish, actually. Like, I don't know what happened with earnings.
Soft guidance. Soft guidance.
So the guide was weak, and people took advantage of the drop and got in. That's what I'm seeing, right? And just bought it back up.
Because looking at their earnings, Nate, they have not missed an earning for last few quarters now. I would say, let me count.
So guidance has been getting them, huh?
They have, the last they missed was in October 2020. Since then, they have not missed a single EPS or revenue. But the same problem that I think a lot of companies are doing is, and Adobe is especially the poster child in this situation. What they do, they guide lower. and then they beat it.
Gotcha.
And I
Well,
think analysts don't really like that.
right. Well, I mean, as far as ULTA is concerned, I think our consumer economy has proven to be pretty strong, and so I think the buyers are going to be there from a customer standpoint. But from the chart perspective, just purely looking at charts like we do here, I would want to see it get back above 550. It could just reject here again if there's a little bit of volume, which it kind of did to close out Friday, get a little bit of a wick, and so 550 would be the level I'm looking at. You trade this
I
one,
think
Sean?
with I don't. I didn't even hear about it, to be honest with you. I don't even know what Ultra Beauty really is. It must be an American thing, or
Oh,
maybe a
yes.
group that holds different things. But what I would like to see from this one is perhaps obviously a tightness in the range. So trading sideways, but obviously getting tighter and tighter, creating that wedge appeal, and then obviously going through either positively or negatively past that wedge. So I'd be staying away from this one personally for now and seeing what it does.
All right, there you heard it. Let's keep going. I'm going to go kind of quickly on some of these unless they get, there's something to really jump in on. So this is one I've not heard of before, but you can guess why I'm oohing and ahhing here, right, Sean?
This is the first stuff that came up, and you go, "Ooh."
Well, this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Is it a
right?
Chinese stock? Looks like it.
It
Oh,
might
full flag.
be, yeah. So the ticker is GOTU.
GOTU.
And one of our requests that came in, and this is, I don't know anything about this, so just
China.
talking purely
Yep,
about the
Chinese
stock. It is China.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a Chinese company. Did you catch what they do?
Yeah, it's a technology-driven education company providing online K-12 after-school tutoring services in China.
There you go, tutoring. Okay, well, this is a classic bullish flag right here, breakout. Big push up, then some consolidating, breaking lower. Now we're breaking out of it again, back above the 5-day moving average. I like this for more upside. I'd be targeting to get above 850 next. It looks pretty positive to me. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, nice bull flag, good price action coming out of it as well. It'd be interesting to see if it can get through that previous high. That kind of you said 850, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
So interesting to see.
842.
But it has run up quite a lot really since December, hasn't it?
Year to date,
doubled.
113%.
See, that's quite a run. That's something to be aware of if you're trading this. Maybe a bit more of an intraday trade for me. But yeah,
Yeah,
I like the pattern.
I agree with you. I think this is a day trading situation. This you shouldn't hold. And
You wouldn't swing trade this? I might swing trade this.
I mean, I don't like to swing trade Chinese stocks, honestly.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Kaye, you are keeping me in line this week because of the volatility in the overnight news, and then next thing you know, you lost your shirt and you can't do anything about it.
It's a day trade. Yeah, I mean, this is a classic day trade, right? You're sitting, you're watching, and you have your levels are drawn. You pull your profits off. You have a stop losses. This is not I mean, you can if you want.
I would day trade it with a bullish tint or lean, I guess, because of this breakout for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The swing trade would bring a little added risk because of.
Because I give you an example. I forgot the name of the stock. And this was also the Chinese stock, and this was also the related to this. And then last year or a year before, they had some kind of a rule that you cannot play games, or they were actually doubling down on these kind of companies. The K-12. I forget the name. I might be mistaken. The stock just dumped.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is you don't get that news. Is the problem is the news gets delayed by the time we get it right here.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's exactly right. And the markets aren't open, and then you kind of stuck with whatever price it opens at. So there's a lot of risk in trading these names, but just purely looking at the chart, it does look pretty nice and pretty bullish. But yeah, I agree. That's really strong points, Kaye. Keeping it going, JMIA is one JMIA that I really like, and it's had a crazy run. And look, it's like repeating the same pattern again here. So we had this big pop and a little bit of a bullish flag, bullish pennant, and then a breakout. And now we're kind of doing the same thing, right? Consolidating, tightening up. Some big upper wicks, though. So that is worth noting. But yeah, it looks to me like if we can get a clean break above, this is 717 here. It's struggling to even close above that level. So I would look first for a close above 717 and then a continuation for an additional move higher here. Super bullish since earnings, though, for sure.
I think a very clear symmetrical triangle is kind of happening at the moment, which is nice to see. I've got this one on my watch list already, thanks to you a couple of weeks ago, I think it was.
Sweet.
And you can see that, it's not like an ascending triangle, it's not a descending triangle. It looks like quite a symmetrical triangle as you're kind of drawing out now, which is nice of you.
Yeah.
And basically playing a break of each, waiting for the move, practicing that patience element of trading, and catching the bull move or the bear move, of course. But yeah, just wait for the break.
Yeah, wait for that breakout. Awesome. All right, CVX. Here we go.
Chevron. Favorite.
CVX in the energy space. Oh, another interesting chart.
Very
Our
interesting.
audience knows their charts. That's what I'm going to say, because they always bring interesting stuff every week. What do you think, Kaye?
I will say this though, that we are almost getting to the top end of the range, the top end of the trend line, and
Yep.
this is the doji candle, right? The last one.
Yep.
So, and we got rejection on this trend line a couple times.
True story.
If you draw this trend line, right, you will notice that these were all rejection, even though still making higher highs. So I would want to see if we get a rejection from the top of the trend line, come back, then maybe enter a position, and then try to see if we can go back up.
Which trend line are you pointing
So
out exactly? From
I
up
drew
here?
on a daily, I drew the trend line. So if you draw the trend line all the way going from November,
Got it.
so
Okay.
yeah, so you see, if you draw this all the way like this, you will see that this is going to be top of the trend line.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, this is definitely a. Are you talking about this trend line here? That's the
Yeah.
one I see.
Yes.
Got it. So still having broken, and you can draw that a couple of different ways, but either way, we're still below it. What I'm seeing is this retest here of, call it 155. You have this nice shelf, and we've rejected but tightened up, right? This is tightening up a little bit. So I would look for a break above 155, a retest, and move higher for Chevron. Yeah, that's exactly the trade I'd look for, actually. But that's definitely noted, that downtrend line there. Good call, Kaye. What would you add here, Sean? Anything?
No, we can move on. You've said kind of what I'm thinking, so yeah, we'll move on.
All right. How about you lead us off with ESTC? This is Elastic. I've not looked at this one before.
So Elastic is also a SaaS software company.
Gap fill. That's all I'm going to say.
Gap fill. Yep, I see it.
81, 82, yeah, probably. Yeah, gap fill. That's where the volume profile is, and it doesn't look good. The last 2 weeks of candles not great. Clearly, the earnings wasn't brilliant, and it's just kind of dribbling out. Be interesting to see where the 200 moving average is. So if you can pull that up.
Oh, yeah, I think I have the
Because that'll
150
probably-
anyways.
200
That'll be
is
coming-
$60.
so-
Sorry, 87.50. 87.50.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to watch for that level, I think. Yeah.
Yep, it looks like 82 for that volume shelf at the bottom of the gap is where that's headed. That would be my thoughts.
But if you notice, right, 2 earnings before, they also had the same gap up. And
Oh, yeah?
Stock bar coded, if you notice that on a daily. See
Yeah,
this?
good call. It did, and then it gapped
Then
again.
gap up again, then bar coding again.
Interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. It never filled that gap.
Yeah.
It has been marching higher very nicely.
Exactly.
And sometimes when you get that, so I remember looking at First Solar or something like this, and you'll get a much bigger pullback, and it'll maybe retest one of these resistance levels and then launch. So this would be a very nice place to get in if it does get all the way back to 82. Around that level, I would be very interested.
What sector is it? I don't know.
ESTC, Elastic. Were you asking the ticker or the sector?
What do they do?
SaaS company.
Okay.
Basically, they are a data analytics company. They deliver solution. It's a pretty popular software. A lot of companies use.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
It's been on a really nice run, and I think we're just going to have a little bit of selling here in the near term. That would be my 2 cents on that. It's interesting. I'm adding this one to my watch list, actually.
Isn't this Sean had covered HIMS before?
Yes, I think so.
They're revenue machines, I tell you, honestly.
Hey,
And you can see actually in this chart here, if you zoom out even more, you can see how it's kind of just traveled sideways, even though the revenue has been, well, I say sideways, but you know what I mean, hasn't taken off quite as much as it has done recently. but the revenue has been absolutely rocketing. To be quite honest with you, obviously get profitable. I think they get profitable, or at least they're turning profitable before the end of the year. I could be mistaken.
This is the
But
weekly
yeah.
right here, and it's looking really bullish.
Oh,
But
they
just,
did. They became EPS.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So yeah, obviously that's reflected in the stock price. That's clearly what they mentioned in the last earnings report. You can see that on the screen. I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't take the position, or at least start a long-term position. Just never quite got into it. Never really trusted it, I guess. And obviously now I'm looking at it and thinking, bugger. So yeah.
it looks like it got above some key resistance levels, and
Yeah.
it's going to be tough to get in if you're not in this one already. Be looking for maybe a pullback or wait for these moving averages and let them catch up, and maybe look for a spot there.
Similar as Palantir, right? If you aren't in there at 16, 17, then you're just catching.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a
You don't
nice
want to. You don't want to do FOMO, do you? Let's be honest.
FOMO and JOMO, remember that.
No JOMO, no FOMO.
FOMO, Joe.
Marathon Digital is a favorite of mine, so I'll quickly just note Anchor VWAP from this is the highs way back in July of 23, and it had bounced there nicely twice, and I thought it would be the last time we touched. Here we are again, messing with it, and honestly, it's hard to say, but I'm just watching $18. If we can hold the $18 level, there's a chance that Mara continues higher. If Bitcoin and the like continue to move higher. I'm not sure why there's talk about the halving event and impacting miners. You would think that would be priced in. I mean, these are known events, right? So the fact that the miners are struggling a little bit could be an opportunity. And for Marathon Digital at 18, I just want this level to hold. That's my whole look there. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, I'm just giving you an update. So I had my 21 strike CSP, which was expiring 3/15. So what I did, I just rolled it a couple weeks out, keep collecting
Nice.
premium, and now my cost basis is down to $15 on this one. So I'm happy.
Hey, that's solid. So your cost basis is below this 150
Yeah,
moving
exactly.
average.
Because Mara gives very nice premiums, and I have a lot of contracts on it, so it's like a big chunk of cash. Keep getting and keep creating more options.
Love it. I love it, man. We've been talking about this one for a solid year, and it's been.
I took the idea from you. This is your stock idea.
All right, I'll take that steak dinner when I come out to visit. All right, so we have SOXS, which is the bearish 3x indicator. I think we brought this up last week, so I'll just take a look at it really quickly and say, hey, it's starting to move up as obviously we're getting the sell-off in some semiconductors. I think we could still see a 10% sell-off in semis, by the way. So
I'll say
it would
that.
be fine, and this chart would take off if we did. So that's the way to play the inverse. Let's keep it going. BBAI was a big bear AI, small cap AI company. So trading, this is under $5. So this is a high risk, high reward type scenario, right? Looks like it had its big push in early last year in 23 actually, and then has sold off since. Big pop recently, and without looking at any news, it's hard to say what that would indicate. But I guess the good news here on the chart is this previous resistance level looks like it might be holding up as support at 235. And you had the big volume shelf there. So yeah, this might be an interesting spot. I would not like it to see move below 230. That's for sure. Anything to add here, Sean?
I'm just looking at the fundamentals to see what they're actually doing.
Nice.
Pretty flat, to be honest with you, in the last couple of years. Shares outstanding has increased as well, so it's like they've diluted a bit. Yeah, one of those companies that kind of you would expect at this level, wouldn't you, I guess? But I do like the level that you've just drawn there, actually. It's a nice level, perhaps a little starter position. But I wouldn't be allocating much of this to my portfolio, that's for sure. Probably a very small percentage.
Yeah, when it's small cap in the AI space, obviously there's a high risk there,
Yeah.
right? So I understand the interest, but this is very young as far as like what's going on in AI and which companies are going to perform and which are going to go by the wayside. So, but if this is something you're interested in and bullish on, it's not a bad spot, technically speaking.
Yeah, technically it's really good.
All right, Kaye, I'm going to keep this one rolling. Tesla was on our list.
Yes, please. Tesla.
And Tesla, everybody's scared about.
I love it because I'm adding to my position long term.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
All right. That's what you're supposed to be doing at these levels, I think.
I mean, whenever
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of Tesla, right? This is a cycle which repeats every time. And this is where you buy, you build your position. It can drop to $100 also, right? I mean, technically there will be different levels that we will, confirm that it will drop, but it could drop a lot from here. But hey, the more it drops, the more you add.
I like it. You're convicted. That is conviction in Tesla. That's what that is. I mean, it's below the RSI is at the lowest levels. Last time we got this low here, you can see you got a big bounce and buyers
I'll give
came
you a
in. Right?
simple trade idea, right? Let's say if you add it at 160, right? And even if you want to get out at 180, which or 190, where most of the trading happened, that's still a decent $20, $22, $23 profit per stock you can make.
True story. What are your
It's
thoughts
not
here, Sean?
250. Go for it, Sean.
Much of the same, really, just a bit more of a long-term aspect to this one. But day trading, this one I've found very difficult. I just don't know if I get too excited because I like the company, of course, like the direction they're going or the direction that they've taken, should we say. But yeah, actually, the line you've just drawn is a line that I have on my chart. Technically speaking, it's a good time to buy.
Right.
And, with all the kind of FUD around it, is what you could say around Tesla. They're still the leading market share of EVs. They're still ahead of everyone else. They're still profitable. They're still money-making machines. So as long as they're in that position and still increasing, I mean, the fundamentals for this company, I don't know if you've seen, but in the last 4 quarters, it's done really, really well, despite all the negativity. So it's still very much there for Tesla. And all I want to say is I'm not day trading this anymore, that's for sure.
You got to be quick. You got to be really quick.
You do,
So I'm
Yeah.
trying out a new strategy, the opening range breakout. Sorry, yeah, ORB, right?
ORB.
ORB, and especially on Tesla. And I backtested 2 days, and I tried my hand on the third day. It worked. Doesn't mean that it will work every day, but I'm saying I'm tracking Tesla for the first 15 minutes. So the second 15 minutes of the trade, after the first 15 minutes, the range establishes, and then you trade for the 15 minutes. Of course, I can't do that every day, but I have tried it. That just
Working out for you.
worked. It worked out once out of the 3 times. Let's put it this way.
All right. That's interesting. I'll be curious to hear if you trade more of the.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted on the strategy, how it's shaping up.
Well, this looks like an interesting spot to buy. I mean, like we said, bottom of this trend line, RSI is at the bottom of things. It's not like it can't go lower, like you said, Kaye. But the only other thing I'll point out on Tesla is, look, see, we had this gap up here. It came up, filled the gap, and what happened? Sold off. This is a common occurrence when you have gap fills. Same if it would have came down from the top, you typically see a bounce. And then after that, it's anybody's guess, but just noting that action there. All right, Tesla looking like it might be a good spot for a bounce here. We'll have to see what comes. Let's see, a couple more.
If I can ask you a question related to gap fills. Do you reckon it's institutions setting their kind of buy levels at that point, perhaps, where you see that kind of aggressive move back up or back down in this case? So if you, for example, if you have the buy trigger set at the top of that kind of rectangle, faded rectangle, 205-ish, would the institutions have that set to sell? Just a kind of general question, but do you know?
Yes. So I don't know if it's around gaps that the institutions set up. I don't know enough to speak confidently, to be honest. But what I could tell you is volume weighted average price is something they definitely track to, whether it's view up from earnings or just the weekly or from the start of the month. Like there's different approaches taken from what I understand. And so that's why I like to use these anchored volume weighted average price lines, because you will see kind of trading to pull, they'll be buying when it's below and selling when it's above these volume weighted average price lines. So that's the one I would watch more for that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yes.
But I think you got a point. I mean, when you have this much selling pushing it down, this is not just retail sellers.
Yeah. And retail sellers are, by the way, not going to move a stock like Tesla.
Right.
As much as I think they will, they're not.
I mean, I like to take credit all the time.
Maybe we need to pull the stock back up so Elon can actually get the X fixed. The stake.
Yeah, seriously. You just focus back over on getting spaces and not be glitchy. That'd be great. All right, well, let's look at advanced auto parts really quick. This one came up as well. That's an interesting rounding kind of formation. We got this huge volume shelf from this long consolidation period and this huge gap up to 110 basically from where we're at now at 81. That would be a massive gap to fill, and it looks like it started the process. So that's interesting. I feel like I heard news or something around, I don't know if it was the recent earnings, but this is quite the rip it's on right now. Just absolutely launching. You guys hear anything much about AAP, Advanced Auto Parts?
No, nothing in the way of news. No, but I do like the way there's not much in the way to 110. I don't know. I haven't gone much further back, to be honest. But
yeah,
the stock has a hold rating, by the way, by Wall Street also. It's not like a buy rating.
Hold rating, you said?
Yeah, it's a hold rating.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, this is a very nice breakout. If you were looking to like find a position to get in, if it does come back and retest, around 75, that's basically the prior resistance going ways back. 74.70. That might be an opportunity, but really the only real shelf here is at 70, basically. Just call it 70. So if you're looking for a pullback, that's the best spot to get in. And then I would just say, if you're in already, congratulations. That's quite the rip. And look for more upside to fill that gap. I mean, why not? All right, CrowdStrike is one that I want to jump on, and then I think I'll let you guys pick one more out of the list, and then we should probably wrap it. We're way over, and I've got lots to do. Let's see here. I lie. I don't have a lot to do, but we are over. And this is CrowdStrike. So, Sean, actually, let me throw this to Kaye first. Kaye, this is more right in your wheelhouse, right? What are your thoughts on CrowdStrike these days?
It's that massive rip that we had. If I'm not trading CrowdStrike, I'll probably build it into my long term positioning, right? So for me, honestly, I would wait for a pullback to 50-day moving average at this point in time, which will be the 305 level. We did get bounce on the 20-day moving average. We actually had couple touches over there, but I feel like there is a little bit of inconsistency that is happening in the last couple trading days with CrowdStrike, with hitting 365, right? I'll wait for a pullback to 50-day moving average before I actually add.
Yeah, that would be right around 305. And look at these two. I mean, if you're going to buy on the 50-day moving average, better be quick. It looks like
exactly. So you can have an order, open, and so they can fill. But because I'm doing for long-term investing, I'm not trading this one. But if you are doing, I would go with a CSP at 305 and collect some juicy premiums on that. Let me see that. While you guys continue, let me see the premium.
Yeah, what do you think, Sean? Anything to add to this chart as I draw lines?
Yeah, so I like the psychological impacts of 300 as well. So just the kind of whole number where people might be setting their buy limits, especially with that 50 moving averages you both mentioned coming up there as well. So I like the chart. It's a tad bearish, but I mean, to be honest with you, it's still trending up nicely on a larger scale, at least.
So,
yeah, I think that any dip down to 300, 305 level is worth buying right here, and a break of 300 is worth being cautious about.
Do you want to know the bid ask spread on 305? It's 830 bid, ask is 905.
Whew.
Pretty wide.
So you gotta know what you're doing and pick your spots pretty well with CrowdStrike to trade options. That's what I'm hearing. All right. So what do we got? What do we wrap up with here? Should we do Micron? Should we do Merck? Should we do?
Let's do Micron. They're reporting earnings on Thursday, aren't they? So makes sense.
Let's look at Micron. All right. Yeah, like you said, reporting earnings. Let's see. This is a good still to use. I'm gonna actually remove these fib levels because they're a little bit old. But I do like this chart making higher highs and higher lows for sure as we're heading into earnings. That is definitely a nice sign.
You could probably draw a 3-point fib extension. I said it right this time.
You did. You nailed it. Where would you like it from?
Just the start of the initial move. So I imagine probably looking at July, 3rd of July, maybe.
Let me remove this.
So to kind of pivot of this move. Oh wow, it's been going up for ages.
It's been ripping it a little bit, but I think what you're getting at is maybe right. I'm going to do this one here.
And the funny part was that I was trading the stock when it was in the 50s, and I gave up in the 60s, and then it just kept ripping higher.
And I keep accidentally
When it
clicking.
happens.
Yeah, that's me with Tesla, Kaye. I don't even like to talk about it.
It just
Okay.
fell off my radar. That's what happened.
So the 3-point fib, by the way, real quick lesson here. If you aren't familiar, you go from a recent pivot low to a pivot high, and then a midpoint pivot, which looks like what we've got here, right? So you can do this in either direction, and it gives you those extended fib levels. And yeah, so that would give us basically 96 for the next resistance level, then 99.27, so 99.25, and then right up to 104.60. So that would be the targets for your next moves higher if we continue this higher high, higher low situation. And I don't think I would want to see 88 broken, really, with any conviction, just because that seems to be like the prior resistance point that we've gotten through. And also where the 50-day is at. So that's my take there.
Same.
I think with sorry, Kaye, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was saying this. The volume shelf also aligns with what Nate was saying.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What I would say is, obviously, it's been extended. Well, not extended. It's been going up quite nicely in the last couple of years or so. We've seen on the chart here. But if they guide perhaps not so wonderful, and it doesn't come in line with their price to earnings, price to sales, that kind of ratio, then you might see a bit of a sell-off and maybe a continued sell-off if the guide is just not quite there. And regardless if they beat on revenue and obviously EPS as well, if they beat on both of those and the guide isn't good, we've been seeing a trend recently where if the guide isn't good, they sell off no matter what. You can see that you can see basically in the last year and a half, what Nate's doing now on the screen it's almost a double, really, isn't it? Almost.
Really nice, yeah. And
So
you
just be
know,
careful.
when you see this kind of a trend line and then boom, an extension like this, I mean, that's super bullish. I'd love to see it, especially if I'm already in the position, obviously. But yeah, you'll notice you'll get much more dramatic moves. So I wouldn't be surprised to actually see this come back and try to test this trend line here. And I'll be watching that as well if we do actually break below. This volume shelf should come in, like we're saying, at around 85, 86, right at the right level. So yeah, a bullish overall setup.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
All right. That is a lot of excellent charts to have run through. I like
We
it.
didn't get to all, so we'll try to cover more next week as well.
Oh, look at all these more names. Oh, Lamb Research, PayPal. Okay.
Expedia.
You guys are great. Okay. There's a
We're
lot.
doing midweek special.
We're going to have to be faster next week and get over to it because in celebration,
Yes.
we crossed 3,000 live. Hey,
All right, fantastic.
out there. How nice is that to see? So thanks again for tuning in. The Trading Triangle live on YouTube, of course. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button. We appreciate you guys. And then over, if you're following either on X on @TraderNate here, my handle, over on Wolf Financial, we appreciate Wolf very much and enjoy working with Wolf Financial. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you follow that account, subscribe to the newsletter, and support everything that Wolf's got going on as well. And great way to kick off the week, you guys. We got charts ready. We went through a number of them. I feel prepped. I've got some new names that I'll be adding to my watch list, like ESTC. That was an interesting ticker from our audience. So thanks again, everybody, for your suggestions. And I will say that this week, FOMC, right? Sean, you nailed it, is squarely in focus. So probably be a little bit conservative with position sizing heading into Wednesday. And then once we get the big moves, we'll kind of pick a direction and trade from there. So that's my approach. And yeah, excited for it, guys. Sean, I'll hand it over to you next.
Before Sean, there's a comment. It should be done twice a week.
Maybe one day. Who knows?
Oh, maybe once we retire, right, from our 9 to 5, absolutely. Yeah. I can do daily.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate that comment so much. That's a good goal.
No, You took the words out of my mouth. I mean, FOMC is a big kind of indicator, a big kind of catalyst for me personally this week. I've said it a few times in the last few days. Just be aware of basically if you're holding overnight, especially on the Tuesday, just make sure you kind of, well, actually, no, it's kind of halfway through the day on Wednesday, so that's not too bad, actually. But yeah, just be aware of how you're trading. I'm not going to repeat myself on what they said, but yeah, just trade confident and, move forward.
Pay attention, right? You got to be paying attention. How about you, Kaye?
I think my sentiments are similar to yours. I think the trend hasn't broken. We still have an uptrend on S&P 500, and it depends on how you trade, right? Are you day trader? Are you scalper? Are you option seller? Option buyer? Depends on it. We have ideas like Tesla, where it's lower chance to buy more. Cases in Palantir, where you can hope for a pullback so that you can get into leap calls and stuff like that. So there's a lot of trading ideas and strategies that you can apply, but as usual, never oversize your position regardless. That's all.
Good stuff, Kaye. I appreciate it. I'm writing down tickers over here because we have so many coming through. See Carvana and Uber and SMG and
Yeah, I think we'll probably have to dedicate a little bit longer, maybe
Yeah.
30 minutes. Starting next week, we should dedicate to the audience request.
Yeah, see MSTR. A lot of interesting stuff, guys. Sorry we can't get to them all, but we will dedicate more time and appreciate the comments as far as doing this twice a week. That sounds like a great goal to get to. We just need more hours in the week. That's all. And then we can do it. So, all right.
It's a time zone as well.
Yeah, the time. I
I
mean,
might
we
be
are
asleep.
global. We are global. This is
We are.
one of my favorite parts about the trading triangle. We've got audiences around the world, and all three of us are all around the world. So it's good stuff. All right, guys, appreciate your time as well again this week, and looking forward to another week of trading. Everybody that tuned in again, make sure you subscribe to the Trading Triangle on YouTube, and appreciate the follows out there on X, and we look forward to another one next week. We'll see you then.
Take care. Bye-bye.